Greetings. If you're watching this, it means that you have enrolled in a history course online. My name is Dr. Ryan Pettengill, and I will be your professor for the semester. What I'd like you to do, if you have not done so already, is go ahead and put me on pause and download a copy of the syllabus. The purpose of this welcome message right now is to not only go through the syllabus, but to outline the guidelines, requirements, and expectations. So go ahead and put me on pause. You can find a copy of the syllabus if you log into Blackboard, look at the left-hand column under Course Information. You'll see a link called Course Information, and from there you should see another link to download a copy of the syllabus. Okay, so at the top of the syllabus, the top of page 2 rather, what you're going to see is the various ways that you can get a hold of me. Bar none, the best method of communication with me is through email, and I have listed my email address at the top of page 2. Please refer to that if you have something that you need to discuss with me. Now, the other thing that I would like to discuss with you before we go any further is the book reading list. There's really only 3 books that I need you to purchase. The first of which is called America's History. Okay, it's just referred to as America's History, and it is the 7th edition. You want the 7th edition. It's got some images of Native Americans on the cover of it. That helps. Anyway, you will need a copy of that. It does also come in electronic format. In other words, it's an ebook, and if you wanted to do it that way, be it cheaper or more convenient, I would recommend it. The next book, that would be Documents for America's History. Documents for America's History. Now, Documents for America's History is big and green, and it looks a little bit like the textbook, America's History. You'll need a copy of that, and just like the America's History textbook, it does come in electronic format as well. Now, the next 2 books are going to be a little bit different. The first book I need you to buy very, very, very soon. It's called My Bondage and My Freedom by Frederick Douglass. And you can get this in a variety of forms and fashions. I've seen it going for as little as $1 at half-price books. You can buy it off of Amazon, and of course you can buy it at the bookstore. I really don't care what copy you get, what edition you get, who wrote the introduction, what the cover looks like, anything like that. It's entirely up to you when it comes to what kind of My Bondage and My Freedom book you get. The only thing that I will say is if you don't buy the edition that's listed on the syllabus, every once in a while I will have video lectures that help you dissect that book, and so of course the page numbers are going to be slightly off if you don't have that edition. But under no circumstances are you required to buy that edition. The last book is called Sam Patch, the Famous Jumper, and it's by a guy named Paul E. Johnson. You're not going to need that book for a few weeks, so if you wanted to delay in terms of buying that, then that would definitely be the book that you've got some time to put off buying. I don't think I've seen it in any other editions or any other styles, so the book that you find wherever you find it is more than likely the book that I require. So those are the books, and what I'd like you to do, if you haven't already done so, is definitely get a copy of My Bondage and My Freedom and start reading it. It's going to be the most important book for the first few weeks of class. Now, let's talk about the requirements and the expectations. Now, many people will take an online class because they think it's easier. That's the perception. In a lot of ways, I think it's actually harder to take an online class because in most instances, you don't have somebody that you can meet with on a week-by-week basis to kind of guide you through the semester. So anyway, this is going to take a lot of self-motivation and a lot of discipline, but the good news is there are a lot of different things that you can do to really maximize your performance without putting an awful lot of work into it. Now, the first thing that you can do are the discussion questions, okay? If you log into Blackboard and look on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see a link called Discussions. Go ahead and click it, and you'll be taken to what is called the discussion forum. Each week, and there are 15 weeks in the semester, each week you are going to be required to complete a discussion forum question. Okay, so for instance, in week 1, part of your assignment is to complete discussion forum 1. It's going to have a very open-ended question, and in many cases, although not the case for discussion forum 1, but in most cases it's going to ask you to refer to a specific document in your book, or in some cases it may have a link right there embedded in the question that will take you to an external page, and it'll ask you to use that information to answer whatever question has been posed. Okay? Now, there are 15 of these. They're worth 1% of your cumulative grade, so if you do all 15, you're already batting 1,000 when it comes to the class. Now, one last thing about the discussion forum questions before I move on. It's important, obviously, to answer the questions, but ideally what I'd like you to do is entertain the thoughts and opinions of your fellow classmates while you're answering the questions. In other words, hey, Joe, I agree with you on this point, but I really think this specific issue needs more attention, and that's why I think what I think. If you want more of an explanation when it comes to discussion questions, please email me, let me know. I'd be happy to comment. Now, the next thing that you can do to really maximize your performance in here are the quizzes. Underneath the discussion link in Blackboard, you will see another link called Quizzes. Now, I call these quizzes really what they are open book questions. Okay? So it's perfectly fine to use your textbook, and in many cases I will take you to a specific page number, have you analyze a document, and use that document to answer the question. Quiz 1 is a little bit of an anomaly. It's not going to be the same as any other quiz, but that's another story, and you'll understand what I'm talking about once you read Quiz 1 and begin to write it. Anyway, each of these quizzes are worth 3% of your cumulative grade, and generally what I look for when I evaluate them, did the student actually read the document that I asked them to read? And if the question is yes, my next question is, did they think about it critically? And did they use the document to answer the question at hand? If both of those questions I answer yes, then typically I'm pretty apt to award 3 out of a possibility of 3 points. Now, with the papers, those are going to get a little more heavy lifting, shall we say. Okay? Underneath the quizzes link in Blackboard, you're going to see another link called Paper Assignments. Inside this folder, you will see the guidelines for both Paper 1 and Paper 2, and this will not only outline the question that I will ask you, it'll also tell you about the formatting, the expectations when they come to a thesis statement, length. I want you all to boldface your thesis statement. So those are the things that you're going to want to refer to when it comes to that. Anyway, the papers are worth 10% of your cumulative grade apiece. So Paper 1 and Paper 2 combined are going to account for 20% of your final grade. I will have more on the papers as they get closer, but the best thing that you can do right now to start to prepare for the papers, read Frederick Douglass's My Bondage and My Freedom. Okay, moving on. The exams, both the midterm and the final exam, are going to account for 50% of your cumulative grade. They are each worth 25% of your cumulative grade per exam. Both of them consist of a combination of multiple choice, short answer essays, and one long answer essay. Now, the nice thing about these exams is I've already given you the exam review guide, and in some instances I have given you the question that I will ask you when the exam rolls around. That's the case for both the midterm and the final exam's long essay. My point is not to allow anybody to cheat. My point is I want you to think about these questions as the semester unfolds. And so I'm giving this to you so that you can put those questions in the back of your mind. And as we go through week by week, you can kind of compartmentalize the information as it relates to those questions for the midterm and the final exam. Underneath, if you're looking at the syllabus, underneath the description of the assignment, you'll find my grading scale. And I'm always asked, do you grade on a curve? And the answer is no. What you're looking at is what you're going to get when the end of the semester rolls around. Now, do I provide a little bit of what I call wiggle room? Yes, of course. If I have somebody that's got a 91.567, of course I round up to a 92. What I don't want you to think is I got to an 89.5, so therefore that's close enough to a 92, so therefore I get an A. Okay? Again, a direct line of communication is always helpful in these matters, and I always like to think about this course as the ball really is in your court. It can be really, really difficult if you let it be, or it can be not only enjoyable, but it can be a boon to your overall GPA. That's the course in a nutshell. Now, what I'd like you to do, in addition to getting started on the Douglas reading, I want you to read chapters 1 of both the America's History textbook and the documents for America's History. At the end of this week, you're going to have quiz 1 that will be due, and you're also going to have discussion forum question 1 that will also be due. So, with that said, I'm very much looking forward to working with each of you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Looking forward to a very productive semester. Thanks very much.